Okay, I'm gonna do some work today. I've just got back from vacation and came in and did a repair last night at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and now I'm gonna hit my stack of stuff that's piled up while I was on vacation. I said goodbye to Mark today. He has gone back to Florida, so I'm running the shop by myself. The rest of the team is largely on vacation or getting ready to go on vacation. So we are going to see what we can get fixed out of my big stack. And first up is an iPhone 5S data recovery. This one's been on my desk before. I remember it. I remember doing a lot of work around here. The EEPROM chip, there was some short or some kind of damage I corrected. This has been here for a while. And I can remember that it would boot and be connected, it would be recognized by iTunes, but it would never produce an image. So I have already done some troubleshooting where I would replace some of the touch chips and some of the chestnut. I remember there was water damage in that area, and it seemed to be localized to the chestnut touch chips area. And it's always been hard to get it to boot, but you can get it to boot. However, if you connect a screen, it will not boot. So something is up with the touch and display circuit. So what I've done now is I said, screw this, let's just windshield wiper this entire circuit. So you can see that I've windshield wipered all of these water damaged caps. This is a real hot spot for water in the 5S because there's the water entry holes that are in the shield right here. Water goes through there, and the backlight chip is here, backlight diode, backlight coil, which is a high voltage line. Chestnut itself is a boost chip. So this is a hot spot for water damage. So I have decided to just eliminate all the variables with the windshield wiper technique. And before I start rebuilding, I want to confirm that it can actually boot here. So let's make sure that it still can be recognized by iTunes. So I will stick DC power supply on it and see if we can get it to boot and connect to iTunes. Then we just need image and touch. And that's my strategy. Rather than, this is sort of I decided to stream this one because, you know, sometimes you can really go down the rabbit hole and kill yourself taking all sorts of measurements and trying to figure out what's the one bad cap or is it some one bad chip. And that can just consume an extraordinary amount of time. All right, so I'm prompting it to boot here at the power button, and it is hanging out at 70 milliamps, which it sometimes does. And now it looks like it's starting to move. I see current consumption that looks like it is potentially going to follow a normal path. So I'm going to look around for my dock. Where are you at, Doc? Paul Lewis says that he has a 5S on his bench as well. What's wrong with your 5S? Let's race. Let's see who can fix their 5S first. This one's getting an answer one way or the other today, because it is on the top of my list of things to clear up. But I do have to find the dock connector, which was just here. Let's see. So this is the phone, and here's some chips and battery and screen. This is a different phone. That's a different phone. That's goes with that. That's a different phone. That goes with that. Been working on an iPhone 4 for data. Seems to have not much of the board left. It might end up having to be chip off. Oh, where are you, 5S dock? Where are you, 5S dock? Oh, look at that. It is. This is not a good start. The 5S dock is plugged into the board, and I didn't see it. Great! What a great start. All right, let's see. I hear the connect to iTunes sound. Jessa, do you have any online courses? No, I do not. We do the only training offering that we have is our signature 5-day practical board repair school here in iPad Rehab, a mothership in Honey I Falls, New York. And it is an art, and the course is heavily reliant on that sort of in-person tweaking. All right, so it looks like iTunes detects it. I'm just gonna confirm that by disconnect, connect, and make sure it's recognized in normal mode. So I'm looking for the sign that says, yep, connect. You need to enter the passcode. So it's booting as normal right now, and it will, of course, not have image or touch with this amount of the touch circuit gone. So let's go get started on this. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, what's going on? Cactus lamp. Yes, I brought the cactus lamp into the house this morning. It is awesome. I need to get a shade for it. All right, let's see. Cactus lamp. Hello, everybody. Never pick your nose after cutting up a jalapeno. A nice life tip from Paul Lewis. Okay. All right. Let's see. Another 5S water damage, no boot. All right. Do I have a WhatsApp group? Nope, there's a pretty big one. I don't really use WhatsApp because I'm over 40. And there's a pretty big WhatsApp group that a lot of people are into. All right, so let's start by trying to get image back first, and then we'll bring back touch. So I'm just gonna grab a donor board here that looks like it's in pretty good condition for the touch circuit, and I'm gonna put a new chestnut on. But first, I'm gonna start transferring over some little dudes. So let's get busy. Let's get busy with that. We're just going to use some hot air and start moving them over. I have a 5S board, shows Apple logo for a second, and then it goes black. Backlight's still on after it goes black. Any suggestions? What to check? Yes, that goes with rule number 1. Rule out parts and software. You don't have a board problem until you know you don't have a parts problem. So that sounds like it's auto booting to DFU mode. All right, so let's start with this big one here. If I was smart, I'd get up right now and go find my non-magnetic tweezers. Let's see if I can use these guys. And start moving them over. Don't be stuck down there, mofo. Thank you. Ah, you're not the same. You're a 5C. God damn it. All right, so let's now go on a hunt for an appropriate 5S board. So we'll leave that there. And find not a 5C, but an actual 5S in the donor board pile. That looks like it's got a good backlight circuit. This one looks a little harvested. Yeah, he's missing too many dudes. I recently got a huge stack of donor boards, so I think I will find those probably with Mark. Where did that huge stack go? Oh, you'd think that people doing YouTube videos would prepare, but no. All right, let's find 5S donor board. 5S donor board, and we can start stealing from Mark. Woohoo! We'll start stealing from Mark already. He's barely even driven away. And it is time to start stealing from him. He has also stolen from this 5S board. All right, I want to find one that has that complete circuit. This is all about sort of efficiency, which right now is a little bit inefficient since I don't know where a lot of stuff is coming back from vacation. People stole from me. And I have to go hunt everything down. So let's see, where would Mark have put this stack of 5S boards? Let's find out. Let's find out. Here's a bunch. That's a 5. All right, let's try this one. It is a 5S and everybody looks happy over here. So let's start that again. Let's start that again. So we'll start with this row of dudes. She's in America. We have a big influx of donor boards that we bought recently, mostly for training boards for the course so that students can do TriStar jobs on phones that do charge and have them still charge when they're done with their kind of student beginner TriStar job. So we try to keep a good stack of those. So for this one, we'll just borrow the image circuit. Him off. And on my board I am trying to fix, I'm going to stick nickel on the NAND so that we don't overheat the underfilled NAND. And we'll get a little flux there. And we're going to try to kind of get these guys loosely in place, and then we'll solder them all down when we're done. All right, let's keep on going. I turned off my Spotify for you guys so that I could stream. We'll see how long I can last without Spotify. Number 3. All right, now we need to grab 2 little dudes this way. Start with my big dude. Pretty sure this is a VCC main guy. Let's make it so you guys can see. Alright. Sounds like Paul Daniels got his microscope in the amazing saga of trying to get a microscope delivered to Australia, which apparently is a lot harder than it sounds. Dudes next to him. Last guy. See how much more efficient and easy this is than trying to measure and troubleshoot every one of these dudes. Alright, so now we're going to forget about backlight circuits. We're going to leave off our driver, and we're going to get our chestnut boost coil. Needs a little bit more flux over here. When you see an iFixit box on BuzzFeed. Get this guy cleared out from underfill so we can take him. is going to the iFixit Unconference coming up in about a month in beautiful California, midway between San Francisco and LA. We are going to go there. We're excited to go hang out with repair peeps. We're excited to see how good they can make margaritas. And I'm sure while we're there, we'll do some kind of repair challenges and stuff. Let me know if you have any good ideas for that. iFixit tends to be a fun bunch of people. All right, let's go ahead and stick. Let's go ahead and we'll put back this other cap while we're doing caps, and then we'll do our chestnut and see if we get an image or not. iPad Rehab, the problem here in Australia is that, well, logistical incompetence, unless you live in Sydney, Melbourne, and maybe Brisbane. The shipping people find a way to take forever. Yeah, it stinks. It's one of those things you kind of take for granted. We do a heck of a lot of shipping in and out. And most always everything is easy. Every now and then you can run into a problem, but honestly the problems are the same whether your carrier is USPS, DHL, or UPS. They all kind of are hit or miss at times, but most of them do a good job. All right, so we've got our caps done. Now I'm gonna grab a new chestnut chip. Hopefully I can find a chestnut chip laying around here. I have an SE with a 5S screen from another shop. They think that's a software issue. Should I tell them or keep the lols to myself? Yeah, you should always tell somebody. If you have some information that can help a repair shop, tell them. The reason why, and I feel really strongly about this, is if you go with the line of thinking that you're going to withhold some information that could help another repair shop do better, that means that they are going to be generating a volume of customers that have some problem that they can't solve. And rather than those customers finding their way to you and you being able to solve it, and so you're a hero and they suck, which is kind of the common attitude, and much more likely, I think, is that the customer is going to leave thinking all of independent repair sucks. I should have gone to the manufacturer. I should have just gone back to the carrier. I should have gone back to Apple. And they are going to then be poison to the entire industry. So anytime any shop generates one of those guys because of a failed repair, they are going to tell all their friends, you know, don't bother going down to any of these shops. They're not going to differentiate that guy from you. It's going to be all of us. Don't go to any of these independent repair shops. They don't know what they're doing. You know, I had a terrible experience, blah, 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 blah. So in my opinion, the better you can make your competitors, the better for all of us. The better your competitors do, the better you do, because then everybody will be generating a nice long parade of customers that had a good experience with independent repair. And as they move around and talk to their friends, people are always going to go to the shop that's closest to them, or you know, they'll move away or go to a new city. There's not I don't think a huge risk that if you withhold information that somehow people are going to find their way to you and not your competitor. I don't think that's the way that's going to work. But what do I know? All right, let's look up the orientation for this chip. So I'm going to look him up on ZXW and see what we can find out there. So let's go over to ZXW and get off of the iPhone 4 and get to the 5S. And let's see, Chestnut, where's your A1? There it is. So the dot goes in the bottom near the edge of the board. So now we will head back and see if we can get this chestnut on here. All right, so that means chestnut is going to go on top of these beautiful, flat, never been wicked, unbraided pads. Something like that. And see if we can make that a go. So let's get back our heat sink. And let's make chestnut dance. I remember I stuck a little cap that came off in that spot right there on that cap. There you go, buddy. Straighten out. That doesn't look straight. You don't look like you're in the right spot. Get yourself fixed. And that guy, I'm not sure if I need him or not. Let's see if we can get him to sit down just in case. There you go, bud. All right, so now we have windshield wipered and replaced our chestnut. I'm not 100% confident. I didn't like how big of a jump that chestnut made, but that whole area looks a lot better. So let's see if we can get image, and then we'll, if so, we can come worry about touch. I don't want to add the variable of the touch chips now, because if I don't have image, I won't know if it's because of a chestnut fault or if it's because something's up with the touch circuit that's pulling down a chestnut line. So this stream is all about eliminating variables. One thing that I will say is that you have to have your technical proficiency on point before you can windshield wiper stuff. If you are super confident in your ability to transfer chips, move them around, then eliminating variables by getting rid of, you know, anything that looks corroded, get rid of it, replace. That's kind of a non-thinking, relaxing way to just enjoy your technical proficiency and solve problems without having to really spend a lot of time measuring and diagnosing. If, however, your technical proficiency is on the learning curve, then you're going to be adding variables, especially if you're reballing chips, you're going to be adding variables. So this is all about what can I do to eliminate variables. All right, let's see. Jessa Jones and fellow techs, thoughts on Bitcoin? Hooray! Well, I don't know very much about Bitcoin, but I do know that Coinbase has a heck of a lot of fees. I bought some of the Ethereum a few weeks ago when my kid was like into mining. It sounded fun, so I bought some, sold it today, and made money. But it was just like, hey, I made a lot of money for Coinbase. Let's see. Which is what I remember about my day trading days. I used to think it was fun to trade stocks. Super fun to like look for, you know, kind of develop your own pattern recognition stuff. I really like that. And I can remember hunting around for a stock trading platform that you could get in and out of trades for $1, and at the time you could find that. That's not, I haven't been able to find that. So if you know, if you're a crypto guy, let me know the good platform. Coinbase is okay, but it was, you know, you got to make 10% just to make nothing, I think, to get in and out of a trade. All right, and now where is the doc? Where are you, doc? Here it is. All right. Underdog is a pug. Yes, Underdog is a little black pug. Underdog is a pug dog. Underdog is cooling his jets now. Not in the road. Not. His buddy Bear went back home, so no more adventures for Underdog. But he is alive and well. And out of jail. All right, I'm gonna let this cool down for just a second. Bitrex, says Ken Bosak, is his exchange. What kind of fees are on Bitrex? Fees sucks. No one yells about the banks and their 0.1% interest. Yeah. All right. I was told to always wick, in case she is watching. Well, you were told wrong. There's this sort of war on wicking is funny. I don't believe in never wicking, and I think that sometimes the internet just loves drama, and so they will make a, you know, anything that's slightly dramatic, the internet will just go nuts. So I wick all the time, but I only wick, and I don't even say wick, I say braid. I will only braid pads if there's a reason to, and that's what I teach at the course. You know, if you can articulate the reason why I'm braiding the pads is because, and then insert valid reason here, then do it. You know, there's times where I will braid pads. If your answer to that question is because everyone else does, or because that's what they seem to do on the internet, that's not a good reason. And you should know that it's not just free and easy to braid pads. You're taking a risk. You are putting sandpaper on fairy wings, and if you're going to sandpaper fairy wings, you need to have a good reason to do that. All right, let's see what we have now. I'm going to connect a DC power supply and see if I have an image or not. I do have an image. I see an Apple logo. Yay. So let's see if it will still boot. So this is definitely progress. I have an image, and phone seems, according to DC power supply, to be booting. And I did order last night some camera stuff, so hopefully we will be able to get some, you know, camera over here so that you can kind of see what's going on. I know that's kind of not fun to watch a stream where you're constantly having to use the trust-based method. All right, I still see Apple logo. I want to see that image come up. Yay, I see the lock screen. So image is solved. That is fantastic. I think that's the first time I've ever seen image on this phone. And previously I did a lot of, let's just, you know, let's change the touch chips and, you know, clear corrosion, and then let's change chestnut, and then I wasn't sure whether or not it was touch or chestnut going on. So let's get back to work. So now we need to get touch. So we've got image, now we need to get touch. So we are gonna stick on Cumulus and the Mason equivalent, which is Sage in the 5S. And let's see if we can get this thing to have a path to data, which will be great because this is #1 phone on my pissy list. Pissy list is kind of a mean way to describe, hey, somebody sent a donation, but yeah, sub to my channel for Bitcoin info. Oh, okay, that sounds pretty good. Will do. Well, why don't you just tell us what's up with the cryptocurrencies? What do you think? What are you doing all day? I think are you a miner? Are you the guy that built, I was seeing some folks on Cole Thornton's page talking about mining rigs. Was that you? I remember checking out that rig. Let's see. I think that with kids, this whole cryptocurrency mining thing, mining is, you know, probably a dumb idea. It's probably too late for that. GPUs are too expensive, and it's, you know, barely profitable as it is. You gotta wait a year for your equipment to pay off, things like that. But if you have little boys that are sitting there playing Minecraft on some gaming laptop, then hey, how about this? Divert them to mining something and send them outside and play. That's my plan, and it's working out great. All right, so now we got to figure out where the dot goes on good old Cumulus here. And let's take a guess that it's like that and go find out. All right, I guess that is Twitch comments over on the video lower thirds. Yeah, I think I didn't put that there. So that I think is something Lewis must have done, or Mark, I don't know. I didn't realize it was there. Mining is for sport, not for profit. I can see that. It does seem pretty fun. I mean, my kid was into it, and I think the reason why was just for the cachet of being able to go to school when school starts in a few weeks here in Rochester. I think that he thought it would be fun to. Here's the A1. The A1 pad is at the, you know, kind of facing the Wi-Fi chip on this one. I think that he thought it would be fun to go to school and just be like, I'm a cryptocurrency miner. Ooh, what's that? And I required him to at least understand some basics of what cryptocurrency mining really is, which was probably a mistake. Because if you articulate it, you know, what you're actually doing, if you try to make that be in a nutshell, then, and I'm pretty dumb on this stuff, but I would say it goes something like this. What I'm allowing my son, who's 12, to do this summer with his laptop is I'm allowing him to use his laptop to participate with a group of people in solving mathematical problems that are required to be solved in order to validate that each transaction is unique, so that someone couldn't use a Bitcoin or some other coin to buy a fake ID and a bottle of OxyContin at the same time, that each Bitcoin has a unique transaction. And in order to have a currency that is both untraceable and unique, that's sort of what creates this requirement to solve these difficult GPU intensive math problems to validate that. So what he's really doing is he's helping people be able to buy illegal shit. So he is helping people order hits, buy drugs, buy baby toes, make fake IDs, get passports to illegally immigrate. That's what I'm letting my son do. I'm letting him help the community facilitate those kinds of transactions. That's what he's doing with his summer. And when you kind of look at it like that, then I'm not really sure that my whole shtick of, yeah, it beats him just sitting there playing video games all summer. This is great. Not really sure on it now. All right. Yeah, I would definitely let him do like the kids clean cryptocurrency that's not used for illegal shit. But that doesn't exist. Maybe we should make a new coin called what would that be called? Disney coin or Sesame Street coin, something like that's only used to you know, buy and sell video games between kids that really don't have cash. They could get into some kind of currency. All right, Jessa, would you like to come on my podcast to talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum? I'm probably the dumbest person on that stuff. I mean, sure, I think that stuff's interesting, but I'm not super educated on it. Why don't you educate us while we're sitting here trying to fix this 5S? Tell us your experience. I can offer the mom perspective on letting your kids mine. Make sure that all those moms out there know Junior is up in his bedroom, not surfing porn. That's a plus, but he is helping others to buy and sell women into sexual slavery through his processing of cryptocurrency transactions. So you gotta decide how you feel about that. Alright, I didn't see this really move around like I'd like to. Let's see, give him a nudge. Oh, there he goes. Alright, that's good. Whoa! Get back in your spot, dude. It's not cool. You can't just be waltzing all over my board like you own this thing. What's wrong with you? Go to your room. Stop that. There you go. Alright. I'm about to go live on my show. And I'm a tech and a crypto nerd. Alright, well, I will be fixing this, so I won't be able to check that out. Maybe maybe later if I'm still sitting here at 4 o'clock in the morning again. Alright, similarly, let's go check on Sage and remember where Sage is. Where does Sage hang out? What's the Sage orientation? And Sage is A1 is in the bottom. Yep, Sage is in the bottom, so we'll click you guys over to see that screen. ZXW says, good old Sage, A1 pad, ding, is down at the bottom. So let's get that on there. And where's my Sages? Sage, I don't use a lot of Sages anymore. Got one strip. Let's get one out. I had hoped that all the mining crunching of numbers would be used to do something more useful rather than increasing the entropy. Something like protein folding computations or chemical interactions. I think that's a really interesting idea. I can remember when, you know, I'm not so young that computational power wasn't a thing, and it was. You know, when I was in grad school, there was a time when the human genome was not sequenced. We really didn't have any idea how many genes there were, and annotating the genome is a much more difficult task than just sequencing it. You can sit there and generate a long string of ACTG, but it doesn't really mean anything unless you annotate it. So how do you have any idea, you know, what is a gene and what's not a gene when you look at a big sequence of DNA? So you can sequence and get a big old blurb. Is there a gene in there? I don't know. And you have to do that kind of by math. So you can have some sort of a sequence that can be pretty variable. You know, for example, and I'm making this up, it might be something like AAACAAA would attract a molecule that can combine to it and start the process of making a copy of a chunk of DNA into RNA that goes on to become a protein. So that sort of header sequence is what defines the gene. But that header sequence can be really variable, and it can have things stuck in the middle of it, and it can be, oh, instead of an A, it's cool if it's a T, but not cool if it's a C. And so you can see that it kind of becomes really complex. So I think it would be cool if 12-year-olds of the world could unite. That problem's largely been solved, and work on stuff like that. That would absolutely be a really that would be a fantastic story. And I would go out and buy GPUs to support kids to be able to participate in computationally sensitive stuff. I remember being in grad school, and one of my projects towards the end was kind of like this, a just very systematic, non-hypothesis based approach to comparing gene expression profiles between you know, cancer and not. So what that means, we're going to let this board cool down, is that if you said, if I had a magical way to just take a cell that had cancer and a cell from the same guy that did not have cancer from the same organ, so let's say a pancreatic ductal epithelial cell from Bob and a pancreatic cancer cell from Bob, who has the same genes to start with, and let's just see which genes are actually being used today between one and the other. And so around the time when I was at the end of grad school, a guy at my school, Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, came up with this fucking elegant method to capture a list basically of every single piece of every single gene that was currently being used in the cell. And it was really labor intensive. You could do all this work, and then you could end up with numbers instead of cells and pictures. You could have a number. This gene that nobody knows what it does or what it's heard of, this gene, we found 7 copies in the cancer cell. We found 1 copy in the normal cell. Is that statistically significant? I don't know. And so then there was this huge amount of computing power of using all this kind of cool pattern recognition to something called principal component analysis, which seemed really cool to kind of group these sets of genes and how they were expressed between these 2 sample sets. Really, really fun stuff. All right, so let's see how we're doing on this. If it's cooled down enough, we can test and see if we have touch now and therefore a path to data. I don't know. All right, they did create a game program that's for protein folding where they use the game program to maximize the packing size minimization, a bit like Candy Crush. Well, that sounds pretty fun. All right, so let's see. About to get out a 10-pound sledgehammer for my HP laptop. All right, well, that sounds frustrating. Okay, let's see what happens. I found my dock. It didn't run away from me. Things are looking up already. Let's see if I can connect it. If this works, I will be stunned that I didn't do this a long time ago. I can't believe how much time, you know, if I kind of put something to the side, that kind of by definition means it got 2 hours out of me. And the idea that, yeah, just come take the one shit board, just windshield wiper it, rebuild it, everything's fine. If this actually works, then I'm just gonna windshield wiper boards every day. No more thinking. Please, bro, it is. I will become please, bro. Please, bro, what a solution? Answer. Windshield wiper the whole board, start over, it'll be fine. All right, let's see what happens now. All right, so I'm gonna see, can it boot with my touch chips? I see an Apple logo, which is definitely progress. Last time I had both Chestnut and the touch chips on here, it would not boot at all. So I see an Apple logo, and we had image before, so we're gonna see if this will boot with image and touch, which would be pretty fucking impressive. All right, let's see. Paul Daniels, let's program artificial intelligence. Let us program, makes me shit bricks. All right. Still booting. All right, Levi 501s. Fucking elegant. It is totally fucking elegant. You should look it up. It was Victor Velculescu, and his technique was called SAGE, Serial Analysis of Gene Expression. And the dude was just a grad student. He kind of came up with this amazing idea that kind of combined a bunch of different techniques that said, you know, hey, can we take every speck of RNA, that is mRNA, that's being transcribed in the cell, can we capture it? Where's my image? Can we get it to form itself into these long chunks with known ends, and then use a different technique where we amplify across a stretch of DNA where we know what the ends are, even if we don't know what the middle is. And then we will link those amplified chunks into these big structures that we can then sequence, and then we'll know each individual gene that was being transcribed in the cell at the time will show up between these known tags, and you can just kind of sequence it and write it all down. It's fucking amazing. All right, let's see. Since then, there's a lot, a lot of ways to do it. All right, that, I don't know if I pulled the battery out or not. I don't think it booted all the way. Let's see if it can boot. So we're back at Apple logo, and it looks like it's trying to boot. Definitely seems like it is more, it used to just hang out for a long time. You have to try 3 or 4 times before it would boot. Now at least it seems like it seems pretty ready to boot. I hear it connect to iTunes, so let's pay attention here and see if we get a lock screen with touch. Let's see if we get a lock screen with touch. Yes! Woo! All right, let's see if we can show you that, because I think that's going to be robust. I'm actually going to stick it on a battery so that I can move it over and recover data. And my plan actually is to see what else, you know, I'm just going to be sitting here working for a while, but I don't want to make giant long videos. So I'm going to maybe if we fix something, take a break and then do another stream later. All right, let's see. Sounds like recovering deleted files by recognizing placeholders at either end. All right, so I'm booting this off a battery, and I'm going to hold up since it doesn't have backlight, I'm going to stick a DIY backlight called My Phone so that we can show you this. Can you see that? Kind of. There we go. See the Apple logo with the janky Jessa backlight? All right, let's see. Did you ever peel off the rear back reflective layer on a set of screens so you can see things? Yeah, that's almost all we use. All our screens are called janky screens, and they're all like that. As you can see here, so that you can slide things in there. All right, so let's see if it will boot off of this battery. And this is amazing. I can't believe that this is, when did this even come in? February? It's been here since February. How long did this even take? How long has this been streaming? With all sorts of genetics chat and cryptocurrency chat. You know, I don't think I can tell how long this has been going, but that's pretty nuts to get a path to data in what feels like it was, you know, 40 minutes or so. All right, what is it that she wants? Photos, info and notes and text. All right, so we're gonna, I think I'm gonna question that battery a little bit. Yeah, that battery is not sticking in there very well. All right, let's see. Let's stop ya. Let's undisconnect. And let's reconnect. When we do get a path to data, I kind of tend to take that seriously, and I don't want to fart around. Another beautiful turn of phrase, fart around. You guys fart around a lot? Just for the ability to show YouTube. All right, let's see if I can hold that up with holding the battery. Slip in there, you. All right, there we go. All right, let's see if we can just hold this up and make it work. Boot, motherfucker, boot! I don't like that reboot flash, which it did not do on DC power supply. I'm gonna question this battery. Yep, I don't like that flash. All right, let's go back to DC power supply. Because you don't want to try and mess with something when when you have a battery. Bad battery can be a big problem. That is, of course, a known good battery, but still. All right, so let's disconnect, connect. I think the battery connector itself is a little bit janky. All right, so now I can watch the power consumption over there on DC power supply and see if anything looks off or not. I'll disconnect from iTunes so that I can watch that. Keep going, buddy. You can do it. Roll through those numbers. You can boot. I know you can because I just saw you do it. I'm watching that DC power supply like a hawk. All right, so that dropped to 0, so that's not cool. So that's kind of like back to that original like kind of I don't like booting thing. So in that case, I want to get this phone recovered stat. So I'm gonna go find a battery and measure it so that it won't be able to recover on DC power supply. And then we're gonna say, screw you, YouTube, that is not important enough to hold this thing up when it will boot just fine down here. And let me get a good charged battery, 4.2. All right, so I've got a good battery here. And I'm gonna connect it to the computer that I want it to recover to over here. We are gonna try to get it to boot. So I'm gonna have to slide over here, move this stack of phones, and get it to boot. Let's see. All right, I see Apple logo, and I'm gonna prep this to recover. So I'm gonna make her folder and get ready to grab those pictures. Yes, lock screen. And where's touch? Come on, mofo. You can do it. You can do it. I saw the lock screen, but it didn't have touch. I'm going to assume that is a screen problem here and reconnect that. And we're going to leave it right here. Word seems a little bit warm, so I'm going to get this data. Get it. All we need for data is swipe a screen, passcode, trust. All right, let's try that again. So we've got Apple logo. It was recognized by iTunes, but we've got to be able to hit that trust. And then for a lot of people ask us, you know, how do we recover data? So what we deliver to customers is parsed folders that make sense. So we'll deliver all your pictures and videos in a folder, all your contacts, your notes, your voice memos, messages, and things like that, as well as a full iTunes backup. All right, touch seems a little rough, but I did swipe. All right, I got this. Might be a dead line on that. I can do, yep, I can do middle row, but I can't do the end row. Let's hope that that is just a screen issue. Otherwise, we'll look at the connector and then potentially have to consider a Mason or a Sage or Cumulus defect for a dead line of touch. Let me grab a different 5S working. 5S. All right, so we need a janky screen. We've started putting proof stickers on our parts so that something like this, where I'm concerned about this phone, I want to get her data immediately. While we have a path to data, I want to get her data. And that means I don't want to mess around troubleshooting a whole bunch of silly things. So we started putting stickers that we will use to kind of proof our known good parts. And if they become known bad, get rid of them. All right, so I'm gonna try with this screen here. That screen is marked as good. This screen is marked as good. Should probably look at the digitizer connector. I see an Apple logo on this screen. All right, let's see. Hey Jessica, can you look at the specs? Oh my God, no. Just stop bugging me about that. I don't know. 5S that Q's tech service is working on. U16 is upside down with another chip on top of that one. Is it upside down because the dot is in the wrong place, or the text is just not as you expected? All right, so we've got touch again, and I got passcode, yay! Come on, trust, yes! All right, so we have trusted this. It sounds like what she really wants are her pictures, so I'm gonna go for that right this second. Connection succeeded. Device space lower than 500 megabytes. It's still hard not to say megabases after all these years. Like GB means gigabases. Oh, these are all thousands and thousands of pictures. Export. Suck these off right now. Suck this off and make this mom's day. New folder, all your pictures and videos. Yay! God, I can't believe this has been here since February. Yes, exporting. Woohoo! All right. So you guys are gonna have to give up on seeing the exciting conclusion of that phone swiping. It's over there, connected to iTunes, accepted, trust, it has image, it has touch, it's maintaining a USB connection, and it has already sucked off 200 of those precious baby pictures, so she's going to be getting those back, and that is a win. So here the lesson is eliminating variables, that if you have that technical proficiency, that you know that you can get chips on and off, you can move caps, get them where they need to go without prolonged heat, without damage or risk to the rest of the board, then just getting rid of bad looking stuff that seems to be causing a problem is a really efficient way to solve something. I've spent an entire session trying to get this thing to boot early on, having to reball the EEPROM and get rid of corrosion on the 1V8 line. All of that was like well before I flipped it over to address image and touch. And I know that I looked at it at least once, probably twice. Mark probably looked at it. It was in the bucket of stuff Mark was in Mark's queue. And yeah, it's been here for a long time. It's got a lot of thought put into this device that it turns out the most efficient way to get this result was to just windshield wiper, remove all the variables, and then build them back in a way that makes sense. So we went for image first so that we could confirm that we got image and chestnut function, chestnut cap function is all fine before going for touch, so that way we didn't have one variable muddying another. I would caution you against this approach. Don't do this until you have your technical proficiency down. So I see a converse, a lot of folks that will be, so I thought it was TriStar. Well, TriStar definitely didn't have anything to do with your problem. So now that you've solved backlight, and it doesn't charge, you know, now you've got variables that you introduced. So you have to be judicious. Make sure you've got your technical proficiency down pat. And if you do, then you can use a windshield wiper approach to save yourself. Are you happy to know that Lewis always mentioned wicking pads? Lewis mentions a lot of stuff just to try to try to troll me. I mentioned this on the stream I did last night, how he thinks it is absolutely hysterical at how easy it was to convince the whole world of this rich Jessa and her water tower of money notion. He thinks that's hysterical, and he's just making fun of how easy that was because of my apparent accent. What? I'm like, dude, I was just at a Combine festival. I listened to country music the whole way there. My dad super glued his teeth. My sister uses a flip phone, and so do all of her kids. And Lewis himself is buying a $30 sandwich and making stock trades that are like $100,000. And he's like, nobody's gonna believe you. You're rich, Jessa. You're full of shit. So yeah, the wicking stuff is his way to troll as well. All right, let's see. I don't know what you're talking about. Jessa, when, how you decide to seek additional minor hardware problems? Only data recovery or fix the phone 100%? We do not address phones with water damage outside of data recovery. So it's very clear on the policy that we will try to get a path to data by trying to repair the phone enough. Like this phone really shouldn't be a phone again. You know, even if I put a backlight driver on it, it doesn't seem normal. It seems hot. It seems, you know, kind of messed up. So I would not, I wouldn't want to send this phone back. I wouldn't put a backlight driver on it just because I think she would be then, looks like it's working to me, and get herself into the same problem where you intend to back stuff up or you give it to a kid or whatever, and then it's just going to suddenly die, and then she'll be resentful. I think it's, you know, she doesn't expect this phone to come back working. It really shouldn't be a phone again, I don't think. And so this is data recovery only. If something really has nothing wrong with it at all, then it would be and it should be a phone again, then we'll fix it. We'll make it a phone again. If it's, you know, doesn't require that much more work, we'll put back a backlight driver or do something so that it can have some function, but not on a board that has power problems that's going to cut off. All right, let's see. What? All right. iPad rehab, did you sleep till now? Nope, I went home and slept and then got up and played with kids and did kid stuff for a while. Why don't you guys do a group eye on camera? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to answer any microscope stuff. No disrespect for PhD, really? What does that mean? No disrespect, but PhD, really? Yeah. Look it up, bro. Jessa Jones, PhD. All right. What the fuck? Do you not hear me talking in this stream specifically about stuff that I'm kind of concerned might be a little bit too PhD for folks watching it at 5S no image repair? I'm talking about serial analysis of gene expression and principal component analysis of gene expression and the difficulty in identifying transcription factor binding sequences, and you're giving me shit about making fun of people with a PhD? Okay. All right. What do you use to extract the data? That's where I was going with this. So we use a few different things. We use iExplorer, which I think is really good at pulling out your text messages and pulling out your voice memos, contacts, and things like that. And we use 3U tools for photos. And then, of course, iTunes itself for the backup, and then we'll pull the backup from the iTunes backup folder. So they'll get their full backup, they'll get their photos, and then they'll get folders of all of their important information. All right, iPad Rehab, it's a double layer chip. what? U10? Here's where I'm going with that. A lot of times the printing, the lettering, it doesn't matter. It can be on in any way. The dot's always the dot, so the dot's the only thing that matters. You know, I doubt that you actually have a chip soldered onto the board in the wrong orientation. More likely you're perceiving it that way because the lettering is just not what you expect. Look at the dot. Is the dot in the right spot? Then the chip's in the right spot. All right, let's see. Congratulations on fixing the phone. Thank you. Data, battery, any complete hardware self-test. Nope, not really. I mean, there's Celebrite stuff, but not really. It just does the same stuff you would do by hand. Next time you have a road trip with Lewis, wall-to-wall country music as retribution. Lewis actually likes eclectic music. He likes interesting stuff. He probably wouldn't mind. Make him read some Fascinating Womanhood. Yeah, he owes me. He lost a bet on that. His trolling is how I found your channel. Okay. Wait till I send Lewis Always Wick Your Pads shirt. Do you know the Combine Harvester song in the US? Not sure. Lewis says the title Granny would upset Jessa. Queen of Data Recovery trolling you? I don't really know what that means. With all the time you've put in the phone, could be the cost to the client. Nope, flat rate. I mean, you look at the one I solved last night, just needed a bath. Those subsidize the time that we put. I mean, we put days and days into this one. So the difficult ones equal out with the easy ones. Everybody that gets data is happy. They pay the same flat rate. If you don't get data, then you don't pay. And everybody's happy knowing that we put our best effort into it. Is 3.6 enough to boot something? Nope. Why is Lewis kicking himself out of live each night with tons of alcohol? He will not retire, he'll die. Ooh, that is hard for me to, I should probably just not comment on any of that. Lewis is his own beast. You can't control him or do anything. He's got his own demons, and that's all on him, and he'll share what he wants to share. All right, so that is it for this stream. I'm gonna take a break and find something else to repair. I'm gonna be sitting here fixing stuff all night. The kids went away to the old house now that Mark has gone back to Florida, so they're gonna spend the night over there, and I am here fixing to try to get caught up on my queue, and I'm happy to cross this one off the top of the list of stuff that is stale. All right. U16 iPhone 5S. I know which way the component goes. I got the phone in like that. It's a double layer chip, but bottom layer, I wonder if it can go in any direction. Is it Compass IC? What are we talking about? U16? Oh, let's see. Is it Compass? Yes, it's Compass IC. Okay, so you have a Compass IC. I don't get it. What are you trying to fix here? If it was my phone, I would knock Compass IC off and not worry about it. And say, you don't have a compass anymore. All right. Okay, that is it. I'm gonna hit end stream as soon as I can find it. All right. I'll see you next time.